Greetings and welcome to Rumbo Minero. How are you doing today, Cesar?
What a pleasure, Jorge.
My name is Jorge Leon, and together with Cesar Campos, we will be conducting this program. We are going to discuss various topics and have very important guests. For this, we will be joined by Iván Arenas, a specialist in all matters related to social conflicts. What is happening in Peru with mining social conflicts? Why are there so many disputes, so many problems with mining conflicts? He is a specialist, of course. And naturally, always a bit about the economic reactivation, which is so important. What else, Cesar?
Ismael Benavides and Jorge Ferreira have both served as ministers in Peru, with Benavides previously holding the position of Minister of Economy and Finance, and Ferreira serving as the Minister of Fisheries and Agriculture. An individual who possesses an extensive knowledge of the global economy, with whom we plan to engage in conversations regarding trade conflicts, the effects of the trade tensions generated by the President of the United States, Donald Trump.
Indeed, that's correct. Therefore, let's begin by examining the key mining news of the week regarding this significant issue program.
This week's key mining news highlights are now ready for presentation. The Minister of Energy and Mines, Jorge Montero Cornejo, announced the upcoming installation of a multi-sectoral working group for the province of Pataz, in the La Libertad region, which will include representatives from the executive, local authorities, regional authorities, and the public to reach agreements that contribute to its development. The executive power announced urgent measures for the restoration of the rule of law and social peace in the province of Pataz, which includes the suspension of mining activities for 30 days and the immediate exclusion of individuals and legal entities that have a suspended status in the Mining Formalization Registry Reinfo in the specified jurisdiction. The President of Congress, Eduardo Salwana, urged the Congress's Energy and Mines Commission to approve a definitive regulation that ends the Comprehensive Mining Formalization Registry Reinfo, whose extraordinary validity period ends in June of this year, and requested a report on the MAPE law to be presented for debate in the plenary.
We express our gratitude to Gabriela Chicoma for providing us with the latest mining updates this week. Join us now in the studio as we welcome Ismael Benavides, a former Minister of Economy, Finance, and Fisheries. And of course, agriculture. He has extensive experience. We are going to discuss trade tensions in the United States, Xi, and China. Copper and GDP. First, we are going to see a report because these trade tensions generated by Donald Trump have indeed caused a stir, and we are going to see the following report. Go ahead.
Donald Trump returned to the White House with a determination to shake up global trade regulations. His plan includes implementing a steep 145% tariff on Chinese goods and a 10% tariff on products from other countries, including trade allies like Peru. The response was swift, as China swiftly implemented a substantial 125% tariff on American goods and placed limitations on the shipment of crucial rare earth elements necessary for U.S. technological advancements. The impact is already reflected in the figures. Alan Núñez, the GDP of the United States fell by 0.3% in the first quarter, while global trade shows clear signs of contraction. In the Peruvian case, the blow is strongly felt in the copper sector. The competitiveness of exports to the United States was compromised by the tariffs, leading to a decrease in international copper prices as lower demand from China, worsened by the tariff dispute, intensified the downward pressure on prices. In Peru's economy, mining accounts for over 60% of exports, making it a vital industry for the country's economic stability. The resilience of the sector and investor confidence will be key to sustaining economic momentum despite global uncertainty.
Very well. That is the context we have at this moment. Ismael, welcome to Rumbo Minero.
Good morning. Thank you very much.
Hey, tell us a bit. Is there uncertainty amidst this trade tension that we are seeing between China and the United States? This Hurricane Trump also makes it so that U.S. tariffs imposed on China are steadily increasing while the Chinese side remains cautious. Hey, it's somewhat that they don't give him much attention. Hey, there has been progress with China, which spoke with its counterpart Xi Jinping. Still, Beijing has denied that any conversations are happening. There are also many fake news items out there. And what is your perspective on this matter concerning possible future events? How could it impact Peru in terms of trade and other related matters?
The United States is facing a significant trade deficit shortfall. In relation to the world, especially China and a number of Southeast Asian countries, including Vietnam, Cambodia, and others, you are aware that this is a result of the significant fiscal deficit they are dealing with, which stands at 6.3% of the gross domestic product, while ours is 3%. So, What this does is generate the transfer or flow of resources to these countries against the United States. Therefore, the United States is undergoing an adjustment process. Both in regards to tariffs and taxes with Dolce were closely examined. About Elon Musk, in a way that they have announced that they are going to raise tariffs reaching up to 145% with China and 10%. For the rest of the countries, including us in Peru, with the idea of reducing this trade deficit that I mentioned. They have given a 90-day break, but in these days negotiations are underway, and Peru has also been present. In Washington, the Minister of Foreign Trade and Tourism, with the idea that we be exempted from that 10%. Certainly all this change in the tariff policy of the United States is going to bring a contraction in global trade, and it could attract a recession in the economy. It is already bringing one in the United States. They announced a drop of 0.3% in the gross domestic product of the United States in this first quarter. And this is obviously a consequence of an economic readjustment.
Jorge, I had mentioned to you, Ismael, regarding the impact it has, especially on the trade of minerals, right? This is not about us as copper producers who are increasingly hopeful that new mining units might emerge in the future. They could take advantage of this, but it also exists in a global context of rare earthland conflicts, defense of essential minerals, and the shift towards renewable energy, where evidently those resources will be demanded. How do you pinpoint the impact of this tariff conflict, initiated by Donald Trump on minerals?
Well, you have to look at the global picture first. Well, there has been a noticeable deceleration in global trade and the economies around the world. Ranked second globally in terms of economic power, the US remains a frontrunner in the world economy. Well, the decrease in demand from China could potentially lead to a drop in mineral prices, impacting the market negatively. So far, that has not happened, but the economy, North America, as I mentioned, has experienced a decline. The Chinese economy is evidently going to continue. Well, it cannot offset that external demand for what it exports with any internal demand, because China's ability to consume is largely domestic and significantly limited. Thus, what it could result in is a decline in mineral prices stemming from a lack of demand. And that should indeed worry us. Now, China is our most important commercial partner, representing roughly 30% of our total exports, and the majority are minerals. So, I think that in the end, this is going to happen. In relation to some agreements, China, as an example, has demonstrated several symptoms of wanting to negotiate. He raised tariffs on North American ethanol. So, in these 90 days, of which almost 30 have already passed, I believe that there will be a process of negotiation and adjustments. But in any case, there will be the decline in worldwide economic growth could potentially cause a fall in mineral prices.
Now, Ismael, share the Economic Commission for Latin America and the Caribbean, CEPAL. They have cut their projection to 0.4%, I think, and it is now at 2%. On the other hand, it is said that Peru could grow by 3%. Two questions. Is this realistic to you? Is it your projection as well? And the second, why Peru in our hemisphere? Why does it seem to always be doing better?
Since we have the 1993 Constitution in place, it allows for a better framework for governance. Very stable and very good framework for economic development.
And the funds?
They allow, it is essential that there are investments and that a free market economy exists. That is fundamental. The next point is that Peru has been in a state of relative peace lately. In the last 2 years of this government, and this has led to favorable expectations together with, we are experiencing some increases in metal prices and in our export figures. Last year's trade surplus stood at a hefty $24 billion, but with mineral prices soaring, gold currently valued at $3,400, this year might see a different story. We are also going to have a trade surplus, meaning there is a flow of money to Peru, and that is stimulating consumption, energizing certain activities such as construction, more like the importation of capital goods for the industry, and all of that are indicators. We believe the Peruvian economy is improving with good positive energy. For example, they mentioned that in March, although official numbers are lacking, it has grown by 5%. Thus, perhaps we won't even get to the 4% that the minister claims. If we keep a positive trend, at least during the first 6 to 8 months of this year, we should be fine.
Could you say that in the region, if it is going to grow by 2% and Peru by 3% or a little more, one of the major contributors is Peruvian mining?
Yes, of course. Mining plays a crucial role in this problem.
Progress in construction has enhanced those indicators.
Sure. The credit provided by the banking system is on the rise as they are once more financing consumer goods and housing. All of that energizes the economy. So, I think that the mining industry plays a crucial role in this matter. Increasing the number of mines would definitely improve our situation.
Yet, we have the danger of the illegal mining, and you know that the Minister of Energy and Mines, Jorge Montero, has already announced that the Comprehensive Mining Formalization Registry, the REINFO, will be expanded, just as we had anticipated here. Jorge and I always discussed it with our guests. Yet they are claiming to have an alternative suggestion that would permit access as an incentive for formalizing the credit to these miners who are in the process of formalization, and secondly, technical assistance to optimize their productivity. Do you think what they are doing as a platform is reasonable? Do you think the expansion of the REINFO is reasonable?
Look, I think that informal mining is important. /illegal, mining is a fact. What we must do is find a way to channel that activity so that it can be formalized effectively and appropriately. And no, don't be a danger to society because of all that it brings. During the past year, all I saw were figures in shimmering gold, informal. That $7.5 billion have been exported. Given the increase in prices from last year, there will be a significant rise in expenses this year. Consequently, the economic motivation favors engaging in more informal activities. Now, we need to see how to channel that.
Ismael, I have a question for you, being the expert on this economic issue. Well, the numbers you keep projecting consistently, all of these figures pertain to the economy. That's okay? It is correct of 20%. Or is the economy considered, because we are 80% informal in Peru? Can it be done?
The central bank utilizes proxies to estimate informal activity. No. They are essential for calculating such economic data accurately. Anyway.
In other words, it's a whole.
It is a whole.
It is a whole. That was the question I wanted. And it also includes a bit of projection regarding illegal mining.
Of course, sure. And in the context of exports, as a result of mining, illegal not only crosses the border clandestinely, but also departs through unauthorized means. A whole chain that includes formal companies that launder it, and from there it is exported to the United Arab Emirates, India, Dubai, etc.
In essence, the only thing is that he doesn't pay taxes.
That is tax-free.
It's not ideal, but it's the only topic of conversation, so to say.
Not only does it avoid paying taxes, but it is also not registered with Social Security. It does not have all the required elements to...
Ismael, finally, your perspective on the electoral climate in light of all this atmosphere of informality and illegality. We're really scared of the situation. There is a significant amount of fear regarding the possibility that various small organizations among the 43 being presented will actually be captured and suddenly start to operate, to deal with, in quotes, to whiten oneself, that is, to have a representation in parliament.
There is no doubt. There is so much money going into that activity that they will easily be able to finance this illegally, the number of
How should we answer
Congress
that?
members.
What should society and the state do to respond to this?
Well, I think that we need vigilant oversight, quite stringent regarding the electoral authorities' regulations, not only those who are receiving that money, but also to oversee exactly the activities of all those who are candidates. They have clearly shown incompetence in dealing with the signatures, and we have seen that they have failed to accomplish it, grasp it. I believe that it is much more difficult to see, hey, where is the money coming in? But there are ways to do it.
Very well. Ismael Benavides, thank you very much for being once again on Rumbo Minero, and as always, very clear in your insights. To gain a comprehensive understanding of the economy, we must also delve into the field of mining.
Thank you very much, and I hope this will be a good year for Peru.
Thank you. All right, let's go to a commercial break and we'll be back. Well, we are now in the America Mining segment. What is the America Mining segment? The segment on American mining delves into the intersection of global mining practices and economic factors. And for that, we have the international editor. José Gonzáles is currently in the studio with us, as we typically tune in live from New York for the show. José, can you share with us how you're feeling today?
Of course, Jorge. I'm thrilled to be a guest on the show with you.
Let's see. Trump again, right? The hurricane. Well, just recently, President Trump has put his signature on an executive order that instructs the National Oceanic and the ATMET atmospheric system, for the United States to undertake the essential actions required to issue permits to American companies in order to mine areas, if they are able to, of the continental shelf, both national and international. What's the proper way to consume this? Any updates on Trump's current activities?
This is a debate that has historically taken place, Jorge. The question of whether or not to mine the international and national seabed arises because of the potential impacts it could cause. Recently, President Trump authorized the United States Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration to operate in the new environment by signing the necessary paperwork a few weeks ago, to issue the first permits for exploration and exploitation of the shelf, and it will come into conflict with what is called the International Seabed Authority, which is an institution representing the discussion at the United Nations on the matter. Why?
Sorry, because we already have oil,
Correct.
right? I mean, but it's an activity that isn't going to fly by the that does not use blasting as mining does. That said, we would need to see how it works, right?
It has been confirmed that the marine Zocalo contains nodules resembling metal clusters with mainly nickel, cobalt, and manganese. Mining these resources could be beneficial. President Trump is utilizing a law enacted in 1980 for his current actions that authorizes the President of the United States to exploit those resources. And the area that is under exploration is an area that is determined by the U.S. Geological Survey called the Clipper Torch Zone, which stretches from the coast of Mexico to the coast of Hawaii, and these mineral deposits are 2.5 miles deep. Peru played a crucial role in the 1994 United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, contributing significantly to discussions. The country's stance on the 200-mile limit was particularly influential in shaping the outcome. Miles was approved. So, the question at hand is if this exploitation will impact the marine platform and its organisms and balances that exist at that level. But there are already two companies applying. One is called Metals Company, that employs a vacuum system to pull out the nodules, plus another one named Impossible Metals, which has robots that will collect them one by one using artificial intelligence. The reserves in the marine Zocalo are significant when it comes to minerals, but it remains unproven whether they can be economically exploited. It is a fact that the United States has a clear policy to guarantee its energy resources. President Trump's actions do have a certain logic to them, much like those of the Biden administration, but much more aggressive. And the agreement with Ukraine regarding critical minerals offers a direction. And as we have said in the past, it should not surprise us if in the coming years there is some initiative concerning Latin American critical minerals. We must be very alert. What might Trump do? Foresee and take action, or expect and enact?
In December 2023, we were taken aback, Jose, by the ruling from the Supreme Court of Panama that surprised everyone, to declare the exploitation of the Panama copper mines by the Canadian company First Quantum unconstitutional. There are reports that President Jose Raul Mulino visited Peru roughly a month back was highly recognized by various institutions. He is exploring an option that extends beyond the ruling of the legislative power, allowing him to potentially reopen a global issue, shall we say, in the grand scheme of things. In the international arena, is considered a shot in the foot for the Republic of Panama itself. What is Molino's intention or desired course of action?
The president, Cesar Molino, who had previously voiced his support for the mine before the election, ultimately becomes the candidate due to Martinelli's legal circumstances. And he had remained silent during the campaign due to what it represents in terms of social rejection in Panama towards the copper mine in Panama. And yet, he is already taking very clear steps to reopen the mine. He just announced that he will seek a way to reopen the mine without going through Congress. What does that mean? He wants to declare the mine. At first glance, it seems to be some statements made at the Chamber of Commerce in Panama, where he wants to announce the Panamanian mine and sovereign Panama, and apparently rehire the services of First Quantum to operate the mine. The power plant has been given permission to restart operations, and the export of copper concentrates, which had been prepared for over a year, has also been authorized for immediate shipment. And First Quantum has withdrawn the lawsuit in international arbitration courts against Panama. It seems like an agreement is about to be reached, and Molino has also confirmed this with certainty. Environmentalists who do not pay taxes are going to stop the functioning of a mine that, once it is finished, will require 20 years to shut down and has been producing for 35 years, will yield benefits for Panama, which requires that fiscal income. Panama's fiscal situation is not the best. Regarding the conflict over the canal with the United States, it is imperative that the mine reopens, and everything indicates that this will be the case. Positive for Peru because First Quantum has the farm in Peru, and the income from the mine in Panama is part of the financing that will be authorized in Peru and Tacataca in Argentina.
I agree. Thank you, as always, very much. We are in contact, and I suppose all these topics will also be in the Rumbo Minero magazine.
Correct.
Here is the magazine Rumbo Minero. You can go to www.rumbominero.com and find it. You can download all the information and every edition. Every 45 days, you can download it for free. Also, the Revis, the Triple-Double Mining Web, is a site that contains all the information about mining worldwide. If you are a supplier or want to become one, publish advertise on mining course. Right now, the essential term is molybdenum. Well, let's now go to a commercial break and we'll be back. Okay, we are now gathered here, as we had previously stated, with a specialist who deals with all these intricate social conflicts that arise in the mining sector, which we often hear about in the news. Well, there are demands. There are demands from the population, but sometimes from the mining company. Many times we see that the government is notably absent. However, when it comes to collecting taxes, it must be done promptly and within the specified time frame. All of these matters are quite complex, yet we have invited Iván Arenas, an expert on the topic, to join the program. Iván, how are you doing? Welcome to Mining Route.
Jorge, how's it? Thanks a lot, Cesar. I appreciate it.
Iván, over the past few days, we have observed that it is rare for those of us in the mining industry to know that. So, the subject of the attack against a recognized mining firm, no? From the big firms, this happens sometimes. And there's a longer time before it can be given to someone else. Recently, we've seen attacks happening to several important mining companies such as Antamina and Las Bambas. And that it is really concerning because I suspect, perhaps I'm wrong, you will tell us as you are the specialist. I suspect it has to do with politics, right? Because it's strange that there are so many attacks. For formal companies, this seems somewhat orchestrated.
Look, it basically has to do with the political issue, yes. Even though there is no central controlling entity overseeing each individual location, they are interconnected in some manner. While there may not be direct supervision, there still exists a connection. Connections between opponents in politics are evident during elections when they strategically position themselves in the political arena. This interaction is crucial in shaping the political landscape during election periods. Some of them want to be candidates, some of them want to be candidates for senators, for deputies, and so on. But you know, that's pretty much it, the political climate. And also, another important issue, I think, is leftist factions in specific regions are engaged in internal conflicts as they vie for control over leading the protests, to be able to position themselves in the voters' spotlight as well, right?
The kidnapping of these workers who were operating in Patas in La Poderosa last week and the consequences, the implications that you know have, displays lack of success and achievement. The concept of the government declaring states of emergency, right? It doesn't work for the mining sector, nor does it work for the urban sector. Here we have rehearsed several times, Ivan, the appropriate responses that the Peruvian state should provide. Let's repeat the same information once again.
Yes, Cesar. The core problem is that regional governance is failing to function properly, particularly in this specific area. The governance is not working, the instruments designed for it are ineffective, and the institutions that are part of this governance are also failing to function. But you might say the state doesn't work. What I don't believe is that it's not that the state doesn't work, but rather I think there is a shadow state, a parallel state, a state in the shadows. That is to say, just as there is a formal state, like these mining companies, for example, just as there are suppliers and small to medium-sized artisanal miners with whom they have allied, there also exists a parallel state where there are basically criminal gangs, where there are police officers, bad police officers, not the majority, but they evidently exist. There is also the judiciary, there are also the public ministries, and there are also the community patrols, and also these kinds of organizations that function in this state B, if you will, right? Therefore, there exists a certain myopia. The true issue lies within the governance structure in those areas.
Allow me to clarify for our audience that rainfall refers to the permit needed for illegal mining. When we discuss this issue, we are referring to the rainfall permit crucial for such activities. That grants the government so that one can be in the process of formalization. The problem is that it takes 12 years in the process of formalization and they never formalize, but every time they come to intervene, they say, here is my rainfall, I am in the process. So it's a flag salute, isn't it?
That's right.
And the informal folks benefit from this document. That's why many people in Peru are against the rainfall and want it to either be legalized once and for all or not at all. Share with us, because the minister recently talked about the expansion of the rainfall, but mentioned making some changes in various aspects. Tell us how the issue of illegal mining is going, which has also generated $14 billion compared to legal mining's $5 billion. So, it has completely changed everything. Please tell us more.
Essentially, what we have here is that the government has relinquished a serious commitment to formalization policy. To put it differently, no matter how much it pains us, no matter how much hope we had, the rainfall, the process is going to keep extending from June onward and probably into the next year as well. No one will want to deal with the reinforcements because it's clearly an election year. Secondly, that in those corrections, in quotes, or improvements of a project of the MAPI law, disagreements over topics like concessions are inevitable, particularly concerning their duration, which is a crucial issue that often sparks debate and differing viewpoints. Who pays for the environmental management instruments, for example, the impacts they may produce? So there is a seemingly official conversation, however. It is informal miners who are leading the discussion, undoubtedly with the help of their lawyers who are lobbying on their behalf. So what I foresee is that this reinforcement will continue. The Constitutional Court indeed has stated this just a few days ago, that the continuation of the reinforcement does not exempt from criminal offenses. However, the Constitutional Court has also said that it can be permanent, meaning that calls on the government to create a lasting formalization. That being said, in my opinion, we must stand against that idea since everything has a start and a finish. But as I tell you, I believe that these corrections will not lead anywhere. I think that tomorrow or later they will continue to be
extended. In other words, the
extended.
parameters that the minister is suggesting, don't you think that with the addition of other factors, they might not achieve it?
I have my doubts regarding the benefits of the described situation for anyone. The unbiased approach taken ensures fairness for all involved parties, maintaining equality and justice for all individuals concerned. And few, moreover, want to take the risk of becoming formalized. Therefore, the central problem, according to them, is fundamentally about concessions and how to negotiate agreements with the person who has the concession. Solving this complex issue requires a specific approach, focusing on individual regions or even starting with pilot projects in freedom. This tailored method is essential for addressing the problem effectively and making significant progress. Pilot projects in.
No recipe exists.
There is no one-size-fits-all recipe here. What is required is a highly technical approach with numerous additions being made to achieve the desired result. There's a political twist to this topic. Also, there's an ideological aspect that is crucial, right?
Do you think it was unwise for the government to send this bill through the Ministry of Transport and Communications? It's a matter you've dealt with, correct? About the improvement. Well, the Vial Sur Apurimac Corridor, Cusco, which affects a community called Capac Marca. And what do they say, according to them? the acquisition of these areas, which are probably in the possession of the communities themselves, could affect them. Is it reasonable to ask whether the government has acted imprudently by introducing this bill, or do you disagree?
I think it's imprudent. The state has been careless, Cesar. Just look, this should never have happened. Because from the very first moment they said, we should use a formula to pave the specific formula. I'm not saying what the asphalt needs to be, but we will apply a formula for paving. Do you know what happened the next day? It's that a large number of community members took their positions next to the highway. So what was created in that moment? Incorrect assumptions were made that all would be compensated, but only a few received payment, isn't it? There is another percentage left to pay. Congress does not want to take that on. And the state, in this case the executive, does not want to either. Who is going to solve this problem? This issue has nothing to do with how the company functions or operates. It is completely unrelated to the core operations of the business. Despite its impact on production, the problem lies in the specific area where vehicles pass through, directly affecting efficiency and output. So, in this situation, that issue has emerged from thin air. It has been mentioned. The mining company, since it goes through there, this area has to be declared as EIA, but also what it should be is from the asphalt of the road, and what has been generated is a problem out of nowhere, false expectations, because they want to hold mining companies basically responsible for the entire issue when it is known that mining companies pay.
However, what we are discussing is the introduction of a legislative proposal that has not yet gone through the approval process. There is a possibility that Congress could put a stop to this and delay it until the next session of legislation.
There are a total of 40 communities, with only one in Campak Marca, Chumbivilcas, currently blocked. The remaining 39 communities are still accessible and operational. Therefore, in order to come to an agreement with 39 additional communities, making it a total of 40 communities, what I mean to convey is that this is a request they are asking for indeed. But that demand is basically on the state and the executive and Congress. Well, they have to resolve the issue there. However, in the end, their actions are impacting the functioning of a mining company that contributes roughly 1% to the national GDP, therefore having a significant effect. And it will likely affect other mining companies later tomorrow, those that are not affected because they let it pass. Are the 200 trucks that leave from that entire area, which are part of informal mining? It's illegal mining, so it directly affects formal mining and does not affect illegal informal mining. That's the big problem.
Please share with us so we can conclude. This President Dina Boluarte mentioned that she went out in the media, were conversing with the military officials nearby, stating that the military was now authorized to operate in areas under a state of emergency. What is it that they are able to act upon in case of an emergency, hypothetically speaking? They could take action. So what message is there for mining? Because it says that it can act against illegal mining in places where there is a state of emergency, and they come out with the military alongside.
Yes, but the problem is that the problem of illegal mining is indeed fundamentally an issue that the state must regulate, impose order, and control. However, it goes beyond that because you cannot understand the problem of illegal mining. And once again, we return to the diagnosis and the solutions. You cannot understand the problem of illegal mining without understanding the issue of informal mining. One thing will have to automatically resolve the other, that is to say, illegal mining, while it is clear that informal mining is not the cause, at least 80 to 90% of the production comes from informal mining activities. If we fail to address the issue of informal mining involving institutions, regulations, authorities, and regional governments, the problem will persist and have detrimental effects on the industry and environment. The regional mining authorities. Unless we confront that issue, we won't be able to resolve the other issue.
You are referring to formalizing the artisans first in a way that is attractive so that the informal ones will want to join.
To go along. One thing is using the stick evidently, applying the stick to illegal mining with which there should be no compromise in any way.
Those who do not want to formalize.
Exactly. And another thing is also to formalize. We have to go hand in hand. It has to be this way. Otherwise, we won't be able to move forward. See, what is being contested in the country, Jorge and Cesar, is the viability not just of mining or the sector anymore. We are putting at stake the viability of a significant economic sector for the Republic, which is what cannot be grasped.
Last week we did something important. Now Cesar wants to ask a question. Last week, Roque Benavides shared with us that illegal mining had transitioned into drug trafficking on multiple occasions.
Sure, but it is also accepted by society, which is something that is not often said, right?
In conclusion, Ivan, what are your opinions on the activities of the political parties, particularly in relation to the 43 factions that are currently acknowledged as political entities? In the National Jury of Elections, how are they addressing these issues? Do you hear any proposals or initiatives aimed at stopping this? This wave of crime.
There isn't even a suggestion for a pact to combat informality as seen in the mining sector or against illegal activities, just so you know.
It would be a very good idea to have a pact against illegality.
There are candidates, I tell you, not only candidates for councillors of some district, but also candidates for Congress or the Senate. In this case, to the House of Representatives, if there are or if any candidate who represents the interests of illegal and informal mining gets involved, we must avoid that, however. However, the endorsement of this agreement pivots on the political will of the parties in Congress. Pardon? It remains uncertain if the current parties in Congress harbor the required political will to support this agreement wholeheartedly. To phrase it in some manner, Koto, at the entrance of politicians who are directly associated with, opposing, or engaged in illegal mining practices.
Thank you very much, Iván Arenas. We greatly appreciate your contributions. We look forward to welcoming you back soon to delve into the significance with the whole of Peru. And how to discuss the matter of the social conflicts that are very important and risky, as you have already pointed out. Thanks a lot.
Thanks.
Let's pause for a moment for a short commercial break and we'll return shortly. As we approach the conclusion of the program, our main objective is to provide a thorough overview of the important information that all of you have been paying close attention to during this period. The Mining Chamber of Chile, along with APRIMIM, which stands for the Association of Suppliers in Chile, they have formed a strategic alliance to enhance the growth of space mining initiatives. Imagine not only what has already been discussed about. The subject is important not only at sea, but also in outer space. Let's observe how it progresses. You have a detail to share, right?
Yes, the word. Certainly the key aspect relates to this mining pack raffle that Rumbo Minero holds every single week. The keyword is gold, G-O-L-D, gold.
Okay, as we delve into the final commentary, the insights shared by Ismael Benavides, Cesar, are quite significant. How the economy is faring, in spite of the fact that many of us think this political movement is really bad. Well, the region has 2%. I nervously asked Ismael if the 3% could possibly rise to 4%, which would be remarkable for Peru. He confirmed that it might indeed increase, marking an extraordinary development. The topic would be what we are missing out on. What we are missing out on. Because with all these movements, for example, it is positive. Even if we don't like the President of the Republic, it is positive that she completes her term. What national investors first express, excluding foreign nationals, is that they cannot have a president change every single year. It's crazy.
He wraps up his term with a fairly prudent Minister of Economy who has also managed to consolidate the desires of various economic stakeholders, like José Salardi. Iván and Jorge have talked to us about something quite interesting recently. He has proposed a pact against illegality that could be signed by the candidates for the presidency of the Republic. This, of course, refers to preventing illegal miners who are harming Peru from infiltrating individuals involved in transnational criminal activities that have a direct impact on our lives. Let's hope that all 43 candidates have the courage to commit to signing this agreement against crime and unlawful activities.
That's right. And Rumbo Minero, in this case, will take the initiative to invite them to the program. We want to see and talk with the candidates. To sign a pact is what they can do against illegality. Note, we want to know what the candidates know about mining. We cannot allow a candidate who supports illegal mining to address us. It is crucial to differentiate between backing legalization and condoning illegal activities like mining.
But more than what Jorge has said, they might even have financial support from them, right? Augusto Alvarez Rodrich mentioned this to us recently on the Rumbo Minero program. This is what we need to oversee.
This is the Rumbo Minero program. Candidates who wish to discuss mining, whether legal or illegal, and who want to shape their opinions are invited to participate. And to be able to talk openly about its meaning. We are here waiting for you. We will be delighted to welcome all the candidates. Thank you very much for coming. Yes, thanks, Cesar. Much appreciated.
Thank you.
Thank you all for joining us. Just a reminder, next weekend we will return at the same time and on the same channel. We appreciate your continued support.